Hello everyone, how are you all doing? Welcome back to my YouTube channel all about human resources, success through people. Today I'm here to share with you a couple of stories that will help me to set the context for today's video discussion. The first story goes like this. It's 1977. On the Tenerife airport, there is a KLM jet standing on the runway. It is bad weather. The air traffic control system is not working properly. There is a lot of panic, fatigue, and impatience in the cockpit among the crew members. They are waiting for the final signal to take off. They are not aware that there is another Pan Am jet standing on the same runway from which this KLM jet was supposed to take off. Now, among the crew members of the KLM jet, there is a junior flight engineer who is only aware about this particular situation. What he does is he issues some warning signals to his other crew members. The captain in the crew decides to dismiss his signals because of seniority and hierarchy. This captain is senior in the upper ranks of the KLM organization, and he also taught the junior flight engineer how to fly. So he could easily dismiss his signals without even looking at his warning and trying to understand what it meant. So, as a result of this situation, as soon as the wheels of the KLM plane lifted from the runway, it crashed into the Pan Am jet, thereby causing a major disaster in the history of aviation. The number of deaths were 583. It was a very big disaster in the history, and it was analyzed by a lot of experts who came up with the conclusion that this incident happened because a lot of structural and human factors. The human factors being the negligence of people who are in the junior ranks in your organization, or we tend to ignore what they are saying, or there is a lot of power distance relationship among the people in an organization. There were several such issues because of which this incident happened. In the second story, there is a research which has been done by the Stanford Graduate School of Business. They have titled it as the hidden social advantage. It talks about how we tend to reward the confidence or overconfidence of upper class individuals, and we tend to understand that okay, this person has a good presence or has good communication skills, they must be very good on their subject. So there is a hidden bias, an unconscious bias that is set in our minds. So to remove that bias, there are certain takeaways that we should understand while we are interviewing someone or while we are discussing something with an employee on a virtual discussion, whether it is a Zoom call or a Skype. So we should try to understand what this research actually means. Now, it says that we have a feeling that leaders tend to behave assertively and independently, and this bias can compromise an organization's performance. How can we counteract this bias in our minds? The first is these interviewers should understand that not only the people who are very presentable or very confident or come from upper class in the society should not be judged based on their personalities. The quieter candidates should also be given an equal chance when we are taking their interviews. Second takeaway is that when we assess two people based on their skills and competence or for any job role, we should assess them based on their competence and not their presentation skills. That should come later. How the work has to be done, how the role has to be understood, what kind of job description they have been given, how well they have understood it, that is more important compared to how presentable they look in front of the interviewees. The third is the interviewees themselves should understand that do well in an interview, you have to look presentable. You have to understand that if you don't convince the interviewers in for another organization, how will you convince yourself that okay, you are fit to appear for a particular job? So this is another aspect that the interviewees should also keep in mind before getting into an interview. So with these two stories, I hope you all will understand that the topic for today's video discussion is organizational behavior, and we will talk in detail in my next presentation. Thank you. A very warm welcome to all of you in today's video discussion on Introduction to Organizational Behavior. Let's begin with today's agenda. These are the topics that we'll discuss today. Let's begin with the latest news updates first. In the first story, the researchers compared employee behavior over two 8-week periods before and after COVID-19 lockdowns. Looking at email and meeting metadata, the group calculated the workday lasted approximately 48.5 minutes longer, and the number of meetings increased by about 13%, and people sent an average of 1.4 more emails per day to their colleagues. Companies are studying the impact of the forced work from home experiment on productivity, morale, culture, costs, and other factors to determine how they might modify their practices going forward. For the second story, by 2025, millennials, those who are born between 1982 and 1993, will make up roughly 75% of the global workforce. Their presence in the workplace has challenged almost every facet of how we function as organizations, and that trend will surely increase in the coming years. One area where so many organizations could improve their engagement with millennials is to recognize one simple fact. Millennials are not seeking work life balance, they are only looking for a healthy work life blend. In the third story, millions of people communicating completely virtually with their coworkers does not mean our emotional office dynamics have caught up yet to our new video conferencing world. Remote work can contribute to feeling out of the loop because you're missing the kinds of ad hoc conversations that tend to reassure us we are in good standing. So called organizational paranoia isn't always irrational. And there's even a term for that kind of sensible hypervigilance, prudent paranoia. Part of paranoia is about self presentational issues, and it's not just in our heads that we are being judged for how we look and how our homes look on video calls. The onus is on employers to bridge the communication gaps left by our new remote reality. We should now have more structured meetings so that everyone can be heard without anxiety about breaking into the conversation. For big meetings, having someone be in charge of taking notes and ensuring equitable contributions can help. So, what is organizational behavior? According to Fred Lutens, organizational behavior is directly concerned with the understanding, prediction, and control of human behavior in organizations. It is the study of both group and individual performance and activity within an organization. It is actually a behavioral science that teaches leaders on how to observe what people say and do, and that is really powerful because it allows one to make decisions based on data. Interpersonal communication skills can help you be productive in the workplace, build strong and positive relationships with your colleagues, and complete team projects smoothly and effectively. The benefits of good interpersonal skills can affect the morale and productivity of your entire team or department. As an example of how companies take this concept of OB so seriously, an internet retailer, Flipkart, understands how OB can affect an organization's performance. The firm maintains good employee relationships by offering generous benefits, personalized perks, help during personal emergencies, employee assistance programs, wellness benefits, extensive training, and a positive work environment where maintaining a work life balance is encouraged. So, what is Mintzberg's managerial roles? Henry Mintzberg, now a prominent management scholar, undertook a careful study of the executives very early in his career to determine what they did on their jobs. On the basis of his research and observations, Mintzberg's, Mintzberg concluded that managers perform 10 different, highly interrelated roles or sets of behaviors, thus serving a critical function in organizations. As depicted in this figure, these 10 roles are primarily interpersonal, informational, or decisional. Although much has changed in the world of work since Mintzberg developed this model, research indicates the roles have changed very, very little. OB is an applied behavioral science built on contributions from a number of behavioral disciplines, mainly psychology and social psychology, sociology, and anthropology. Psychology's contributions have been principally at the individual or micro level of analysis, while the other disciplines have contributed to our understanding of macro concepts such as group processes and organization. For example, let's look at psychology. It seeks to measure, explain, and sometimes change the behavior of humans and other animals. So, contributors to this field, like personality theorists or learning theorists, have expanded their domains of study to include learning, perception, personality, emotions, etc. If we look at social psychology, which is the next discipline in this figure, social psychologists also contribute to measuring, understanding, and changing attitudes, identifying communication patterns, and building trust. Now let's run through some of the major challenges and opportunities that organizational behavior puts in front of us. To elaborate, let's take an example of continuing globalization. Today, globalization of businesses is something that is increasing worldwide at a great pace. Now, the operations of a business are not limited to a particular location or nation, but they are performed internationally. Products of companies are selling more by various online portals over the internet rather than by their physical outlets. Faster transportation and communication networks have an efficient role in providing services to customers via online portals. Online presence of companies becomes the most emerging requirement of every business. For example, Amazon conducts the majority of its business operations worldwide via its internet portals rather than its physical outlets. Another example can be elaborated on improving customer service. Business is unsuccessful if it fails to treat its customers well and provide them with better service. If businesses have a large number of satisfied customers, it will help the business in enjoying large profits in the long run. They need to develop a better understanding with their customers to easily recognize their needs and wants. Employees should meet with customers in the most friendly manner and try to address their problems properly. It will help the management in creating customer responsive environment in business. Organizational behavior has a key role in establishing a better understanding of employees and ultimately with customers. And last but not the least, the most relevant example in today's scenario can be that of an employee well-being at work. The definition of a workplace has expanded to include anywhere a laptop or smartphone can go. Even if employees work flexible hours at home or from half a continent away, managers still need to consider their well being at work. Another challenge is that organizations are asking employees to put in longer hours. According to one study, 1 in 4 employees shows signs of burnout and 2 in 3 report high stress levels and fatigue. So, to combat such challenges, the field of OB offers a number of suggestions to guide managers in designing workplaces and jobs that can help employees deal with work life conflicts. So let's conclude today's session by presenting this general model that defines the field of OB and stakes out its parameters, concepts, and relationships. By studying the model, we'll be able to have a good picture of how the topics in this subject can inform our approach to management issues and opportunities. On the leftmost side, inputs are variables like personality, group structure, and organizational culture that lead to processes. These variables set the stage for what will occur in an organization later. In the center, processes are actions that organizations engage in as a result of inputs and that lead to certain outcomes. On the rightmost side are the outcomes. Outcomes are key variables that one wants to explain or predict and that are affected by other variables. So, why should one study this model? It is because it is easier to understand one unified presentation about how personality leads to motivation, which leads to performance, than to jump around levels of analysis. Each level builds on the one that precedes it. So, after going through them in sequence, we can have a complete idea of how the human side of organizations function. What are employability skills? Employability skills is an umbrella term for a set of highly desirable, transferable skills that turn you into a very attractive candidate or employee. They can be defined as a set of skills employers want from a potential employee. Employability skills are very desirable to recruiters because they are valuable in almost every job. They are also much harder to teach than specific technical skills, so a candidate who already has them is very attractive to prospective employers. With this, we come to the end of today's session on the introductory video on organizational behavior. Hope you all got a taste of what this subject entails and understand its significance in our day to day professional lives. I will bring to you many more interesting subjects on human resources very, very soon. Should you have any questions, please type into the comment section and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.